real good start. Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the meeting of the 7th of May. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and art gallery buildings. This is Council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until all clear has been given and area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any persons present with a disability to vacate the building. Apologies, Mr. CEO.
Councillor Evans and Councillor Whitten for lateness. Councillor Duffy for lateness.
Moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Mallard. All those in favour? Against? Carried. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at this council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administration purposes. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect for elders both past, present, of the Wiradjuri Nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Any conflicts, councillors? Councillor Floyd.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in the Planning and Development Committee papers tonight. Item 2.1, items approved as one of the items is in close proximity to my residence, that being less than 1 block away. I will leave the room and I will not vote on that one.
You, Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine's the usual. So Planning and Development Committee, item 2.2, the DA 426-20241, as my husband has done environmental work on this site.
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll exclude myself from Finance Committee meeting 2.2. Small donation 3 as a Queen Scout with 11 years youth member and 5 years as Scout leader. Somewhat partial towards the scouting movement. Might be of interest to the committee to know my Scout leader's name was Bambi. My wife is Thumper.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson, for that information. I'll be declaring
1970 Jamboree.
Yeah.
I'll be declaring interest in 4.2 for the bicycle one, as I have a non-pecuniary. I'll be staying in the room as I have a business which operates a transfer business. Any others? No. Thanks, councillors. I'll now we'll adjourn for to conduct the open forum. Our first speaker is Mr. Steph O'Day. He's not here, so we'll move him down the list and see how we go. The first one is Mr. Adam Harrison from Kinross Wallaroy. He's speaking about item 5.4, amendments to the plan of management, Spring Creek Dam to permit recreational fishing. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Before you start, I'll just introduce the councillors. I have Councillor Whitten, Councillor Greenhouse, Councillor McDonald, Deputy Mayor Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard, Councillor Peterson, Councillor Floyd, Councillor Kinghorn, Councillor Miletto. And you've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much for having us. My name's Adam. I'm the head of sport at Kinross. And to my right is Ben Watt, who is the head of rowing. We found out about this yesterday, actually, from our business manager, and thought we'd come along and just pass some comments in relation to the proposal of allowing fishing at Spring Creek. Ben and I, we love Spring Creek. We probably would spend more time there than anyone else. We're there daily throughout the year, obviously with Kinross Rowing, and work closely with the locals, I suppose, and you know, our ecologists who do studies and that at the end of each season, and obviously trying to fulfil the requirements of council set upon that use of land. I have read the proposal yesterday, and obviously we do have some illegal fishing that takes place here at the moment. For the most part, it's not a big issue, I suppose, for us. Being a water supply and council land, I would say that possibly is an issue, hence why we're here tonight and addressing this proposal. A few Obviously, it's a great thing. I've read that it's recreational land, it's community land, it's not owned by the Crown, so I understand it. There is potential there for it to become something other than what it is right now. I think that's great. I suppose the way that looks and the way that's implemented is really important for us from a number of points of view. Obviously, our rowing program, we're very thankful and appreciative of the fact we're able to use that water in somewhat of an exclusive use, you might say. We're the only ones on the water for the most part. So it's really good, and we've got a strong rowing program, blah, blah, blah. I won't talk about that too much. But we do, I suppose, have some potential concerns with the proposal. Obviously, public entry, cars. I know we've spoken in the proposal, there's discussions about parking and things like that. Where will people park? Is there a suitable space for those cars? Look, would much change if it was allowed? Would the numbers increase? Maybe, maybe not. The same people that are doing it now would probably still do it then. But the public entry potentially could be a concern for us, getting access into the gate. I know we've had bushfires in there recently, and then there was a car parked at the gate when the fireys turned up and couldn't get access. So I think that's an important issue we would need to manage, just like your rangers and the people who run New South Wales Water need access for safety reasons, amongst a number of other things. That would be really important. Bushfires have been a concern. In particular, last summer we had a number of them lit adjacent to our shed, which isn't really that big a concern for us. It's a tin shed, but being a water supply, a regularly used one, from my understanding, that's probably something worth talking about as well. Obviously, fishing is great. I love fishing, and I've read the proposal for lure and fly fishing off the road upon entry. Now, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be fishing with a lure there because you cast in, you're going to get caught up in a tree. And also fly fishing, I'm not actually don't know too much about that. But anyway, the reality is there will be bait fishing there. And that is what is being done at the moment. Now, I have an understanding of bait and its potential contamination issues. So if we're throwing bait into Spring Creek, possibly that could be an issue as well. But yeah, when I heard fishing, I thought that would be what it was. I didn't think it was an issue from your point of view. But from my point of view, my limited understanding of bait fishing, I think if we open it up and regulise it, it will become a bait fishing site. So again, I don't know the capacity or the amount of water Spring Creek provides into our water system, but that is definitely something I would suggest would be worth considering as well. And most certainly, as I was saying, Ben and I would frequent that site more than anyone. Looking at the inclusion and exclusion zones, the inclusion zone from our rowing point of view is fine. We stay 50 metres away from the bank anyway. We observe the exclusion zones at either end of the dam due to the bird life and the ecological issues that were brought up during the 2000 study when we started rowing there. But I can tell you right now, from a practicality point of view, if I was fishing, I would be far more inclined to fish the first 100 metres of that dam upon entry, as opposed to walking 1,500 metres to the inclusion zone for the fishing. So that's another thing. And I know the exclusion zone you walk past upon entry of Spring Creek, that is the main site of breeding of all the native birds that reside there. And all the paths of the photos in the proposal, they are all at that side. Very rarely do you see people walk into the dam wall and fish off the dam face. They would fish at the other end, which is clearly an exclusion zone in your proposal. That for me would be a bit of an issue. Obviously, foot traffic, we've got cars and obviously the rangers and water people's utes driving in and out. That road is not wide whatsoever, and in some parts, probably 80% of the inclusion zone, there would be minimal space for someone to fish and a car to drive past safely. That's also, I would strongly say, is probably my main concern, albeit there's not many blind corners on that straight. There's not a lot of space. And the only other thing, purely from our rowing point of view, that I'll bring up tonight, Ben might want to add something. The inclusion zone is surrounding our pontoon. I would ask if there could be an amendment made if this plan did go ahead, that the, what would you call it, an inlet where the boats, obviously we can't observe a 50 metre exclusion zone to put boats on and off the water. We have to literally walk to the pontoon and boat within that 50 metres. Would it be possible that a small exclusion zone could be made around just our pontoon, so we would have access without having an issue with fishermen that might be casting in that area, so we can safely get our students in and out of the water without getting caught on a hook or something like that. I did read that the relationship between Kinross rowing and students and the fishermen, or fisherwomen if you'd like, would need to be self-regulated. I think it would be much easier to do that if we had an exclusion zone just around where we boat, but beside that we can stay away from the 50 metre parameter edge exclusion zone of the creek.
Mr. Harrison, that's your 5 minutes.
Yep.
Does anyone... Yeah, moved for an extension. Seconder? Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Keep going. I'll keep going, mate, if you want. Adam, keep going. Not get going. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, no, so can I just ask a question of everyone here? Is this proposal accepted, or is it just being discussed, tabled tonight, or where are we at with it all?
Look, yeah, Mr. Harrison, if council votes affirmatively tonight, it'll go on public exhibition and the entire community, including yourselves, will get the chance to make submissions. Staff would then take those submissions, provide another report back to council before council would then get to adopt it and confirm the proposal. Can I just add, the figure in there is probably quite general. The intention was to indeed exclude your boat shed.
Yep, thank you.
You can't tell from that drawing.
Yeah, sorry. And my only other question was, if I can, proposals made for Suma Park in recent times. Why was it not approved for Suma Park, but it's been explored?
Much of a question, mate. Sorry. You can do that in the. You could ask the CEO during the public exhibition period.
My final comment would be the reasons it was unapproved at Suma Park, I would say, that would directly relate to Spring Creek. They're both water sources. I'm not sure if there's a difference there, but I would argue politely that the exact reasons why it was declined at Suma Park would be fully applicable at Spring Creek.
Thank you
very much.
Our next speaker is Mr. Steph O'Day. I had you at number 1, Steph, but we moved you down the list, mate. Oh, all good. Do you want me to introduce the... You know most of the councillors. Yeah. You spoke before. Yeah.
Occasions.
You got 5 minutes, Mr. O'Day.
Mayor Hamling and councillors. I think I would like to commend council and the author on the presentation of what seems to be a fair and workable solution to allow Spring Creek Dam to be used for land-based angling. I have with me a picture taken fairly recently of a catch in the area that was identified in the report. I believe they're referred to as a horse. Happily, it was released and is still there, awaiting one of Orange's new Spring Creek Dam anglers. I've spoken extensively with this Spring Creek Dam residents, having spoken to Nick Lewis, Julie Madison, Charlotte Goundry and Joe Sangster on the eastern side, Ian Berryman, Mark Whitehead and Vicky Frost, who was present. Actually from Vicky's familial land that Spring Creek Dam was resumed, and she holds a great affinity to the area. Those on the eastern shore will be directly affected by the proposal. However, all think the placement of garbage bins, Julie, which will save her having to pick up the rubbish on a daily walk, more visits to the area by anglers keeping those with intent other than fishing at bay, a comment that Nick made. Those on the western shore have a greater relationship with the Spring Creek Dam due to this connection to the water and have a greater role to play in the protection shore. At their own considerable cost, the management of pest species, plant and animal is undertaken on the water's edge and in the riparian zone. Blackberry eradication is practiced by all Western Shore residents, as is the mitigation of willow, thistles and rabbits. On reading the report, though, it could be interpreted that those on the Western Shore, those of the Western Shore landowners are the villains, where in fact they are the shore's protectors and its guardians. Thank you for the report.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Benjamin Watt from Kinross. Mr. Watt, you've got 5 minutes.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Hamling. Thank you for having me. I just essentially wanted to echo all of Adam's sentiments and provide support for him and everything that he stated tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, our next speaker is Miss Caroline James, President of the Orange Bicycle Users Club, on item 4.1, Notice of Motion, Orange Wine Trail. You've got 5 minutes, Miss James, Mrs. James.
I'm hoping that you've seen the report and had a chance that have been provided and developed as and I understand over 12 months ago that I Prenty Wine. By both state and federal governments. Oh, okay, all right. Has come up with a very, very positive result that basically, hopefully, will prove to you in foresighting what we believe is a very constructive and valuable project that will have for the community and for the economy in the region. The key features of the trail are noted in the report and in also the notes. But basically what we are trying to create is a visitor and local experience. It's called a cycling and walking trail because it is a cycling and walking trail. It's not about bringing cyclists together on roads. It's actually about allowing cycling to grow in the Orange region, both for tourism purposes and for local purposes, in a really safe way. It's also about allowing walkers and other tourists who want to do other things other than cycle enjoy the experience of Orange. It's going to be a highly profitable activity if we can get it off the ground. Looking at over 100 plus jobs, both 50 in construction and another 50 at a minimum ongoing, and over 50 million in key benefits. Based on the structure that we've worked through, what we're making that is different from, say, some of the current walking and cycling trails that exist on and off road in Orange at the moment is this passes through across a threshold of many businesses. The economic value comes from. So we're estimating about 20 wineries or providores will be hit on average for a 40-kilometre trail. That's a business is going to get customers every 2 kilometres or so. So we think that's a really exciting proposition for the community. But there's more about this for a community. It's about bringing value and bringing amenity. We think this will be a terrific community resource if we can get this up and running as well. We're trying to make it, the proposal is in 3 stages. We're trying to make it ultimately all off-road, all very safe, and ideally with a gradient that a lot of different types of users with all abilities can use. But in the first instance, the provisional concept mapping we've done does tap into certain areas and it has different treatments at this stage. We have talked to stakeholders, we have had tremendous support from some of the key bodies, and I have letters today with me from Orva, from Orange 360, RDA Central West, and from Destination Central West, who all agree that this proposal has legs. But the Orange Bug can't do any more on this project on our own. It needs to be handed over to you and auspice to you, be able to activate the right community consultation to go to that next level, and that includes landowner and adjacent landowner consultation. And that's something we really need for you guys to do and to you guys to recognise that that's your role. In terms of sort of financing, I just wanted to give you a little highlight. We've done this analysis based on the New South Wales Treasury standard cost-benefit analysis. And required in that analysis is that we use the latest or the most validated tourism data. So in this model that we've presented and priced out with a cost-benefit ratio of 1.8, and I'm giving you a lot of numbers, But the point of it was that we've estimated approximately 40,000 visitors a year, because that relates to some latest ABS recognised visitor stats. Just to give you a case study, the Northern Rivers Rail Trail, which came out with a cost benefit of 1, they projected 30,000 visitors a year. But in their first year, they got 130,000 visitors. So I believe if we build this, we'll have an extraordinary appetite of tourism, tourist visitors and locals using this. So I do sincerely believe that we're going to look at actually a much greater and community benefit from this.
Sorry, that's your 5 minutes. And you're finished.
Within a second.
You've done well. Oh, thank you.
I'm able to table those.
Round. Thank you. That's the end of our speakers. We'll move on to our meeting. There are no mayoral minutes. Item number 3, confirmation of previous meeting.
The minutes, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councillor Whitten. Seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any speakers? No speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Carried. We'll now adjourn for the conduct of the policy committee meetings. And just before we start, Councillor Evans is not here. I'll chair the infrastructure policy one first, and then we'll move on. So I'll open the infrastructure policy committee meeting at 8 to 7. There's been no declarations of interest. No committee minutes. So section 3 is general reports. Current works.
Move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. Seconder. Thanks, Councillor Power. Any speakers? Councillor McDonald.
I just have one question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director. Just regarding the footpaths along Molong Road, I know there's an existing one that's been done on the westernish side, and a new one that's currently being done opposite Mastronardi, that's referenced in the report here. I'm just curious as to why that wasn't initially just made a 2.5 on one side rather than 2 skinny little footpaths on either side.
I'll take that on notice, thank you.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
Just a question through you to the Director, if I may. Just in the water request, replace meter box lid. On average, it's normally 20, like 52 in March. Is there any reason?
Yeah, I'll take that one on notice as well, thank you.
Mine's just a matter of rising when everyone's finished.
Yep. Councillor Kinghorn.
Yeah, just curious about the Eucarina Road Recovery Centre. So we're capping stages 1 and 2 and digging out the next one. How many stages are there? Yeah, like if we're doing.
I believe there's 6 stages of 5 years each, giving it a 30-year design life.
So that means it's been going for 10 already, is that right?
In that order, yes.
It's gone fast, hasn't it? Thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the Director as regards to the roundabout at Hill Street and Mulder Street. I noticed that there's 2 trees being cut down and they seem to be further away from where the trees that are already on other roundabouts that have been left there. I just wonder why that is. And the other thing is that what's the time frame for that? Because I know Bathurst built 2 roundabouts and it only took them about a month each to do each one. So the time frame of that, because it is chaotic with traffic down there.
Yeah, certainly appreciate everyone's patience with the works. They will take a little bit longer than a month to build. We're doing considerably more work than what Bathurst do with their roundabouts, so we're taking the opportunity to change grades so that they meet the requirements of the current standards. That means that we are working further along both Hill Street and Mulder Street than what we normally would. And as far as the approaches to the roundabout goes, and that's necessitated the removal of those couple of trees.
You're also changing water mains and all that sort of thing. Is that it?
Renewing water mains, yeah, while we're there.
Yep. Councillor Mileto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is with regards to the same issue, and I've been contacted by several people regarding heavy motor vehicles on Mulder Street and the apparent lack of signage. My understanding is that there's some semi-trailers have gone down there, and once they get down there, they can't traverse left or right because of the size of the vehicles. I'm just wondering, is there some information available to warn truck drivers not to go down Mulder Street, and if so, what is their best route to travel? Because most of them seem to want to go down there, then turn right into Anson Street.
Yeah, I realise that's a bit of a run for them. The best route is to actually avoid town altogether and go around the Northern Distributor Road. But happy to take that on notice, review the signage on the approach to the works.
Thank you. Just have a question arising. Just with regards to the timeline to complete road upgrades between Listerfield and Pinnacle Road. Again, I've received a couple of phone calls with regards to what was described to me as a dangerous dip on the road, on Cheryl Lee Road. Has that been brought to council's attention? Because it's certainly been brought to mine.
Not aware of a dangerous dip, but we are going out there on a regular basis to patch the road in that location.
Is that something we can, I'm assuming, you've probably answered the question if you've been out there, but I only received phone calls last week that apparently as you come around a bit of a corner there, the road isn't wide enough for a truck and a car. There's a hole or something there. And the concern was that if there was two vehicles, one was going to go down this dangerous dip.
Can we have a look at that tomorrow?
Yeah, happy to.
Thank you.
Any other speakers, councillors? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to clarify on page 12 regarding the Blackman Swamp stormwater harvesting. The meeting on the 15th of April wasn't to have a resolution to the concerns that government had about the water harvesting. That was more of just the exchange of information, and the answer will come in the coming weeks, and you know, options we take from there will come out from that. That's an accurate reading of that.
It's a pretty good summary of the event. They didn't have definitive views on how it would be meted. It certainly seemed to be a little more flexible than what was initially brought to us from some of the earlier meetings. They do appreciate what we're doing there, and they're wanting to work with us on a solution. So.
My only other question was on page 7 regarding the footbridge, the Anglican Grammar. I've had some residents ask me if there's been any interest in tenders. Are you allowed to tell us that in open forum, or just be patient? We'll find out more later.
Yeah, I can take it on notice, but as far as letting you know who the successful tenderer was, but that works have been awarded and is being programmed in now.
Great, thank you.
Any other speakers? There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Infrastructure Policy Committee meeting at 7 o'clock, and I'll call on Councillor Whitten to conduct Planning and Development Committee meeting.
Mr Hodges has your every need.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. I'd like to open the Planning and Development Committee meeting on the 7th of May 2024, time being 7 p.m. Sorry. Well, I do know that there is a councillor who has a pecuniary of interest, which is Councillor Kinghorn. There are no other pecuniary interests. Councillor Floyd. 2.1. Okay, so Councillor Floyd, I'm going to move on to 2.1 now. Items approved under delegated authority. Minutes show that Councillor Floyd has left the chamber. Okay, item 2.1, items under delegated authority. Recommendation is on page 5. It's been moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion on this item? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Councillor Floyd, you may return if you are in earshot. And let it show that Councillor Kinghorn is leaving the chamber for item 2.2. Item 2.2 is development application DA 426, 8 Old Regret Road, Clifton Grove. Recommendation is on page 11, and the recommendation is for instrument of approval. Been moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion on this item? There being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? The motion has been carried. I will wait for Councillor Kinghorn to return, and I will close the committee meeting. 1903. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Planning and Development Committee meeting. It's about 1903, and I'll invite Councillor Mileto to conduct the Employment and Economic Development Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. I'd like to open the Employment and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting today on the 7th of May 2024, the time now being 7:04 p.m. There have been no declarations of interest. Councillors, if we can go to section 2 of the committee minutes, item 2.1, there is a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhalgh. Seconded by, thank you, Councillor McDonald. Is there any discussions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, just one little clarification on page 6. Just a typo. Should be due, D-U-E, not D-O. To, not due to. 6. In the resolved apologies box, unable to connect via audio. Due to connection should be due to. Due to.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? Duffy.
My question is about going on to page 13, where we talk about someone mentions future cities and all those type of things. And I knew Lord's Place was future cities. And we have been asked, or our council fully asked, that we have an independent investigation into Lord's Place, but it doesn't seem to be moving anywhere. I haven't seen any reports or anything like that come through to us where we're up to, wherever the case may be with it. There are concerns. I noticed there's a couple of letters to the editor by very eminent people in the town that had concerns, and I'm just wondering where we're at.
Concerns about the time of the report? Is that what you're referring to? I'll hand over to the CEO.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I have previously indicated the investigation is underway and is being conducted by an investigator, and that's all I can say at the moment. Underway.
Any further discussion regarding the minutes? There being none, I'll put the motion. All for? Any against? Declare the motion carried. Item 2.1, minutes of the Economic Development Committee meeting held on the 10th of April 2024. Councillors, there's a recommendation on page 19. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kinghorn moved, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Is there any discussion with regards to this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. All for? Any against? Declare the motion carried. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Employment and Economic Development Policy Committee meeting, and the time now being 7:07 p.m. and I call on Councillor Greenhalgh. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miletto. I'd now like to open the Sport and Recreation Policy Committee meeting for the 7th of May 2024 at approximately 7:06. We'll move on to item 1.1, declarations of interest. Does any councillor have any declarations of interest on this matter? Nil? Okay, so we'll move on to item 2.1, the project update of the Orange Sports Precinct. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Power and Councillor Peterson. Is there any discussion on this item? Councillor Duffy?
Chair, I fully support the all coming to us. I wasn't available for the inspection of the sports precinct. Just wondering, could I pay a visit with the director on that site and any other councillors that are interested to come out? So
I'll call on the director.
Got the nod, so I'm happy with that.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'm happy to go and have another look as well, so I'm happy to facilitate that. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you. I'm very grateful for the update. I'd just make a suggestion or request. The future updates might be better if there was some financial information, particularly what's been spent so far and is that trending to budget and what is outstanding. And if that is trending to budget, I think it will just help I guess, an objective understanding of how things are going. If this sort of information needs to be delivered in closed council, that would be fine as well.
Councillor Miletto?
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd just like to congratulate Council on the work they've done so far. I now understand, looking at the plans, that the minimum width of the field is 68 metres, and that's fine, because this field is 78, plus there's a 5 metre runoff on both sides, which is obviously great news for us. I'm just curious to know why we wouldn't have extended those runoffs to 10 metres to allow the possibility of further activity on busy occasions and also for the safety of other people as well. And if that was to occur, what would be the approximate cost for that additional work to have taken place? That was my first question.
I'll call on Director Maunder to answer that question.
Through you, Madam Chair, sorry. So the field was designed to NRL specs as detailed in the report. At the time, and as is still the case, it was not just a matter of accommodating the main field, but providing enough room for the embankments. And then as you move east across the site, and ensuring that all those subsequent fields have sufficient runoffs. Sorry, speaker problem. So expanding the field has a knock-on effect both east and west. There's also design considerations about the curtilage that was required on the
Working again.
to allow for the sensors. Try again. So there was also design considerations to allow for car parks, curtilage around the entrance curtilage, etc., bus arrivals. So that field was designed with all those different parameters included. So it wasn't really a matter of cost, it was more a matter of how it all fitted across the site together. We also expanded the width of the additional area outside of the athletics track to allow for the accommodation of long jump pits, etc., and a 10 lane finishing straight, which we hadn't done. The original plan was only 8, and then on feedback we changed that to 10 to allow for more participants in each race. So it's a site that it all fits on. It all fitted within specifications, so that was how it was designed.
Thank you. Excuse me. The next question I had was I received numerous calls from the Little Athletics Association, and what was asked of me, or the question that I was asked to ask council, was when was the decision made, and who made the decision to reverse the order in which the 8 multi-purpose playing fields, athletics track and stadium would be constructed and delivered. I can't recall the issue being brought before council or discussed or any public consultation to change the order. How did that come about? Who made that decision?
The New South Wales government directed council that would be the priority. There was a press release to that effect at the time following the review that they undertook late last year and early this year. So quite simply put, we were directed by the New South Wales government that would be the priority.
Thank you. And just in relation to that, I note that in that media release you're referring to from the Premier's office dated the 16th February this year, that the New South Wales government stated that they were committed to working with council to ensure that the successful delivery of the vital community infrastructure, and welcomes Orange City Council's commitment to provide any additional funding. I repeat that, Orange City Council's commitment to provide any additional funding required if the project exceeds the state's commitment of $59.5 million. So I guess my question is the government saying the council will be solely responsible to find any additional funds exceeding the $59.5 million?
I think through you, Madam Chair, what the government's saying is that's all the money they're going to give us, and we've got to deliver the project within that parameter. And if we spend more money than that, they're not going to give us any more. So I think it's quite clear what the government's saying. Their funding's $59.5 million, and that's all we receive. So our task is to deliver the precinct within that funding envelope.
May have a lot of upset little athletics then. Thank you.
Councillor
Question
Mallard.
to you, Madam Chair, if I may. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Chair. I have a question for you, Director. Thanks for appreciate the question Councillor Mileto just asked, and I think it is disappointing that we're not rolling out the project the way it to the athletics facility is critical local community infrastructure that would provide facilities that don't exist anywhere near Orange at the moment. So that is a shame. The other thing I wanted to ask through you, Chair, is I appreciate the report and the update on where everything is at and the plan. One thing not covered that I wanted to ask about is in terms of the landscape plan and in the rollout, when do we get to a point where we may be able to start implementing some of that, or is it going to be that we're waiting to get through all the stages and before any new trees get planted out there? Thanks.
Through you, Madam Chair, the landscape plan's integral to the precinct, as you're probably aware, Councillor. We have a requirement to do the landscaping progressively as the site develops. So after we do the 8 fields, you'll start to see some landscaping associated with those 8 fields going in. We're forward planning for the purchases of the trees. So as we're able to, as the project develops, we will do that. But it is a requirement of the approvals from the planning panel that occurs during the project.
Thanks.
Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just speaking for the motion, that the project report, initially, and yes, I feel for the any of the sporting organisations that aren't being prioritised. But the sporting precinct was originally designed for the football field originally, and the rest of it were add-ons, and quite rightly so. Surely we won't need more than 59 million to build this facility. So certainly the Little Athletics should get their facility as well. But my understanding is that the reason that the priorities were changed is because the longer we take as a council to build this facility and get it functional, the more it's going to cost us. And the area that is going to blow out fastest and the largest will be the rugby league facility. So it makes quite logical sense that we would and should be fast-tracking getting this project completed. That would be my objective, Madam Chair. Not trying to blame other people about why the project has changed. And certainly, no matter who is in government, they're not going to give us any more than $59 million to build this facility. So I think we best get on and build it. Don't you think, Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comment is about the project. I mean, the project's going to get to go ahead. It's going to happen, but I'd like to see a time frame as to what the when it's all going to happen. I've been told 2024 with the report that's going to be the fields ready, but when do we look at having the project finished as far as the stadium is concerned, and when can we start and finish the athletic track? I think that when you have the Premier come here and the local member coming here, they've shown their commitment. They could have pulled the money if they wanted to, but they didn't. And that's a bit of a plus for us, but it's a big plus for the athletic people as well, because there's about 20,000 kids in the area that want, or students I should say, in the area that want to actually use it. Because I do see them running around and training on different grounds. I know they're at Mulder Park today. So but that's my concern with it. I think I'm happy that it's going to happen. I'm disappointed that the athletic track is not going first, because I think there's probably more need for that. When you look at some of the teams that are playing NRL at the moment, you wouldn't feed them. But yeah, I'd just like to see that the process with a time frame.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. You know I'm passionate about rugby league, but I was part of those conversations. And, you know, we were trying to support Little Athletics, and to Director Maunder's point, we were advised what needed to happen. So I'm excited that we will be on the 8 playing fields by the end of this year. And Director Maunder, have you got a time frame on the expected delivery of the remainder?
The projected is end of next year, end of 25, to have it completed. We did have the 6-month pause, which has thrown a bit of a spanner in that projection. And to restart a project after it's been paused for a period of time is difficult. It just takes longer. So anyway, that's what we're aiming for. That's certainly our goal. Certainly what we're all working very hard to achieve. So we get dry weather, it helps. So there's lots of different moving parts, but it's certainly our strong objective to have it completed by the end of 25.
Excellent. Yep.
We've got to remember the history of this sporting precinct and how long it's taken to get where it's gone to. You know, we had a commitment of $25 million, which, you know, was for the stadium. We've now turned it into a regional sporting precinct, state government run project. And it wasn't the Labor Party that delivered this project to us, it was a coalition. So the Labor Party have come in now and they're continuing on with this project, which, as Councillor Whitten said, we're very lucky because they put a health check on all major projects around New South Wales, and we've been told there's not much money around, so this could have been pulled pretty easily. So I think where we are at the moment, and with the 6-month pause to have a look at that health check, has put us behind. There's no two ways about that. And I'm hopeful that we can deliver what we promised. And as I reiterate, it is a state project, not councils, state project. So we are governed by what they say. And we haven't had to put any money in. We have got $60 million. Now, I find that I'm blown away by how much money we've got. They've put contingency on contingency on contingency. And I'm a bit like all the councillors. We want all of the project delivered. All of the project delivered.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors.
I just have a matter arising, Madam Chair.
Certainly, Councillor Mileto.
Just a matter arising with regards to the media release yesterday regarding the basketball New South Wales Norwich City announcing the hosting of the under 16s, under 18s Sporting Waratah Cup this year. Great news. It's wonderful for the town. My question is, this is an excellent initiative. The only question I have is that is Orange City Council required to pay any fee to Basketball New South Wales or any financial contribution for the privilege of holding the tournament?
I'll get Director Maunder to answer that question, if I may.
Through you, Madam Chair, we would have paid a fee, yes. Pretty much every event that we have in Orange, we pay a fee through Sports Marketing Australia, our partner. They secure events for us. Typically, those fees cover some costs for the officials to attend. And it's stated up front and we make the assessment. So when part of what we do is we make an assessment as to the value for the event that's proposed for the city. You're familiar with all the different events we bring to town, and they all typically ask for differing levels of support. Normally the ones that have high participation, high multiple days, youth, often the cheaper ones. And so we just make those assessments as they come. I don't recall the exact fee that we paid, but yes, we would have paid a fee.
So that would be commercial in confidence as well, the fee between the council and the governing body for Basketball New South Wales?
It would. I'd be happy to share it in closed.
Thank you.
Sorry, pay Sports Marketing Australia, correct?
We pay Sports Marketing Australia,
yep,
to Mayor, and we also pay the different bodies for the different governing bodies.
Sports Marketing Australia are the ones that bring us the different events like the New South Wales Under-13 Rugby Championships.
Correct,
that are going to fill the town during the June long weekend. So
yeah, that wasn't my question. My question was, are we required to pay a fee?
I'm getting to that. So there's also a fee on top of that with the governing body.
Correct.
My question.
Thank you, Director Maunder. Thank you, councillors. That concludes the Sport and Recreation Policy Committee meeting with the time being 7:25. I'd now like to call on Councillor Mallard to conduct the Environmental Sustainability Committee meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Greenhalgh. I'd like to open the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting on the 7th of May 2024 with the time being 7:24 p.m. Item 1.1, does any councillor have any interest to declare on matters listed for this meeting? There being none, we'll move to item 2.1, minutes of the Parks, Trees and Waterways Community Committee meeting 21st of March 2024. There's a recommendation on page 5. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Councillor McDonnell. Seconded by Councillor Power. Is there any discussion on this item? Councillor Duffy?
Yes, thank you, Mr Chairman. My question is on the recommendation, point 2, number 4, that Cook Park Master Plan remain as is. Could confirm that
Through you, Mr Chair, the council resolved to retain the aviary, so that's what's happening.
Thank you, Director. Any other discussion on this item? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. My question was on recommendation 2.2 on page 5, which is that the city presentation budget be increased for an additional street tree crew. Just wanted to know the potential cost of this and any staff comment on its utility.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're still calculating the exact cost of what an additional street tree crew might look like, with typically 3 staff and associated. So we can bring that back. That is, Councillor.
Director Maunder, any other discussion on this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Carried. Okay, we go to item 2.2, minutes of the Environmental Sustainability Community Committee meeting on the 5th of April 2024. Recommendation is on page 28. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Councillor McDonnell. Councillor Peterson. Is there any discussion on this item? There being none, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, thank you, councillors. That concludes the Environmental Sustainability Policy Committee meeting, with the time being 7:26 p.m. I'll call on Councillor Duffy to conduct the Finance Policy Committee.
Thank you, councillors. I declare the Finance Policy Committee meeting open at 7:27, and I'll call for any pecuniary interest, non-pecuniary interest, and all those type of things there. Councillor Peterson.
I mentioned one earlier, sorry.
2.2, sport Scouts donation.
Yep. Okay. Any further? Move on to 2.21, the quarterly budget review.
Recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Hamling, that the report be there. Do you want to make a comment, Mr. CEO? I think my comment would be that it's pretty good, only 64,000.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it's a quarterly review, so timing comes into this, slight changes. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Councillor Kinghorn.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just page 6, the continuing operations, just a big difference between the revised budget and the actuals, especially in the grants for contributions, for grants and contributions for capital purposes. I know that the grants dropped off because no one's got any money, but we do our revised budget estimating what's going to happen and then what's actually happened. Why is that so different? Is that just because of delays with things being done?
It tends to be the actual timing issue that affects this graph, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just wanted to ask a question through you about the, on page 10, the note that outstanding rates and annual charge amounts of 14.18%, compared to 10.96% last year, and there's a note further down about monitoring this and a focus on more active debt recovery actions. I guess my question is, are we taking this as likely a result of cost of living pressures biting on people, and how do we approach things in terms of recognising genuine hardship, offering payment plans, those sorts of things? I can understand we obviously have to be trying to manage our revenue as well, but we want to be recognising that it's been a particularly challenging time in the last little while.
Look, really, Mr. Chair, it's a difficult question to answer with any preciseness. There's a bit of cost of living. Council tends to be the last debtor that people pay, so that comes into it. Look, the lack of chasing is also a factor. We don't chase, and there's a bit of that to do with cost of living. So if we put the foot on the accelerator, we can get that back quite easily. but we just haven't yet. With our new CFO on board, that's one of the tasks we are going to look at. On that note, Mr. Chair, may I introduce our new CFO?
No, certainly.
Very proud to say that we've got Hayley Barbetti over here.
Do you want to say a few words?
No, I don't think she would want to say a few words. She's only been with us for 7 days. So I'd just like you to welcome Hayley Barbetti, and we look forward to working with her. And we're very happy now to have a full finance team, apart from a couple of junior cadets. Happy days.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further discussion? I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. The matter is unanimous. And we'll move on to item 2.2. And I'd like to deal with these individually. Someone like to move that way. Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Now, the first one is donation of $1,494 to the United Social Incorporated to purchase defibrillator. There's a recommendation over on the actual page there.
Move that.
Moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion?
Only one question
Mallard?
through you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, just want to thank the staff for following up and getting the additional information that came out of the last meeting. I was, as I said previously, happy to support it, but I think appreciate the responses that the organisation has provided and appreciate the staff chasing it up. Thanks.
Okay, any further discussion on that one? Councillor Whitten and then Councillor Peterson.
Just a question about the types of defibrillators that we're recommending. I suppose if council are assisting to provide the club with the funding to get a defibrillator, are we suggesting the standard of defibrillator? The only reason I say that, Mr. Chairman, we moved a motion here a long time ago about researching about where the defibrillators were, and I noticed that the member for Orange, Bill Donato, has now got one in Lord's Place, which happens to be the gentleman who used to be a Wiggle, who's promoting those, and we had him in the city talking about that product. I thought it might be a good idea if we tried to get a standard of similar usage ones so that when people do use them or have to use them, or hopefully they don't, but when they are in need of using it, they all have a common way of being operated. I see a director's wanting to answer the question.
Directors.
Obviously, we have an ability to control what we are providing from it. But because this is the Finance Committee and the to how they spend, they're putting up the proposal, we can say yes or no to their proposal. You can go back with a suggestion perhaps, but
Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Director.
I need to note this potentially sets a precedent that a group of 14 residents expect the council to pay 100% of the cost of the defibrillator. This could be quite a lot of machines over the period of time.
Any further comment, Councillor Floyd?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, look, I'm 100% behind this. I actually attended this AED training the other day with Greg Page, who's the CEO of Heart of the Nation, and as he pointed out very vigorously, that without these units, people have, or with these units, sorry, people have a 67% chance of surviving their cardiac arrest with these units. So the thing is time. You get these units to people, within the first minute or two, and you've got a good chance of saving their life. So I'm all for this, just based on that fact that people that are out and about may not know where they are unless they've got a particular app with them, or they just might not be able to get it to themselves quickly enough to be able to utilise it properly. So I'm all for groups like this having this type of AED with them. It could potentially save a life for sure. So I'm 100% behind it.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Matter is unanimous. On to 2.2, which is the recommendation to denote $266.50. It's been moved by Councillor Hamling, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Discussion, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to speak against it. As it says in there, it actually doesn't comply with the policy. And also, just to touch off with what Councillor Peterson mentioned at the previous item, I'm really concerned that Council is going to be the go-to body to fund parts and purchasing and replacement of DFIBs. Absolutely, totally get the importance of them, having used them, having attended arrests before, I get it, but it's not compliant with the policy, and I think we'd be setting a really tricky precedent. Yes, it's only $266.50 this time, but every little bit counts. So I'm speaking against it.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Any further comment?
I'll speak for it. It is only a minimal amount, and we've got to look at look what's in front of us. And I think $266 to change the pads on the DFIB. I think that's not a bad investment if we can save some lives. So I suppose, yeah, it does open up a bit of a Pandora's box, but if we're paying $266 to make the thing save some lives, hopefully I haven't got a problem with that at all.
Any further comment? No further comment. I can put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. Those against? Councillor McDonald. Move on to 2.3, which is donate $2,500 to the Orange Girl Guides to contribute. We have a mover.
Second.
Been moved by Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Hamling. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. That is unanimous. Item number 4, donate 1,000.
Councillor Peters.
He's got motor. He'll come past what we can. Just for your information, Councillor Peterson, that recommendation went through.
Yeah.
$1,500. We move on to item number 4, donate $1,500 to the Canobolas Highland Pipe Band to contribute to the operational expenses of the band. Do we have a mover?
I'll move that, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion?
Only that they've got to play at the Christmas party.
I'll do that.
Give them a couple of grand. No, don't.
No further discussion. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. The matter is unanimous. We move on to item number 5, which is donate $2,000 to the Assist Spring Hill Public School with the increased cost of assessing and engaging students in instructional swimming lessons at Orange Aquatic Centre.
Move the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion? Councillor Leto and then Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to reluctantly support this motion. The only reason being that I feel that it's important to teach children how to swim. But as I've said previously, I do not believe it's the responsibility of Orange City Council to be paying for things which I believe that the Education Department should be paying for. In my personal opinion, I believe this is an educational issue and it should be addressed by the Department of Education, not Orange City Council. Again, we are letting ourselves open for setting a precedent, and this has happened before. Have it again. I feel sorry for the children who have been put in this position. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, again, this one doesn't comply with the policy. I'm not quite sure where we have them if we tend not to be guided by them. Again, I absolutely see the need for swimming lessons. It's really important, but I second what Councillor Mileto said. This is not something that Council should be footing the bill for. This is something that I would like to think our very active local member would be agitating for in the State Parliament.
Any further comment, Councillor Mallard?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I also have concerns about this one and don't support approving it. I appreciate the comments from the staff in the report, particularly on page 27 about the lane hire fees, that's actually not related to the Learn to Swim program, and that it relates to independent squad activity and the risk of the precedent of providing this for an admittedly very small school, but if other schools started wanting that sort of exemption as well, that would be a major issue. So it's actually not about swim safety, that part of the charge. And the rest of it, yes, it's growth in students, which is great to see Spring Hill School getting more kids into their Learn to Swim program. But yeah, I don't think we can approve that again in terms of it not being eligible for our donations. I have in the past argued that can't just say it's all about the state government and we should help where we can, but in this case, yeah, I don't see it as being a valid one for us to provide the funding for.
Any further? Councillor Greenhill.
Yeah, I tend to agree with all the other comments. I totally agree everyone needs to learn how to swim. But if you look at the remaining budget, we've got $4,500 and in this round we've been requested $10,261. I think at some point we have these budgets for a reason, and I think we need to try and rein it in, and yeah, we're just setting a precedent.
I move the motion. I'm happy to close if there's no...
No, you're not going to close the debate yet because I want to have a comment.
I haven't spoken anyway, so I can speak anyway.
I want to speak and then I'll go back to you to close the debate.
If you allow me to, Mr Chairman, I'll speak. In speaking for the motion, Mr Chairman, I sit here sometimes and I chuckle, because at the last meeting I sat here and was against a particular donation that was against policy, which everyone voted for, by the way. And I think I remember the CEO told me that, councillor, the policy can be changed by you, right? And here we are now, we have councillors who are using that policy now to get out of, to quote this, that it's against policy, right? When they voted for that other one last week. And I think one of the councillors even said the same thing as you, Mr CEO, about we're the councillors, we can change the policy. But anyway, in speaking for this particular motion, Mr Chairman, we as a council have given and donated many dollars to the schools in Orange. I don't see it a problem that we give one of our villages, like Spring Hill, a bit of a go as well. $2,000 for their children to utilise an aquatic centre that's in Orange, which the ratepayers of Spring Hill also fund as well. So I think allowing $2,000 for the children of Spring Hill, I get it, it's a state school. New South Wales state schools should be helping as well. But in the meantime, we as council can help now. So I'm speaking for the motion and we'll be supporting it wholeheartedly, Mr Chairman.
I'd just like to make a comment. I do note that it doesn't meet the criteria, but I also do note that the budget of the state government for health and education is actually in the billions. So I do agree sometimes with Councillor Mileto and other people who make the comment as regards to funding publicly funded schools from the state government. It's not our duty to do that. But in this case, I'm going to go along with the actual recommendation simply because, as Councillor Whitten said, it is Spring Hill and the services they get in this city, or the service from the city council compared to people who live in the actual city, aren't near as well as what other areas get as well. Any further comment? Do you want to close the debate, Councillor Whitten?
I'm happy. I think I've set it up, Mr Chairman.
Yeah. All those I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, 7. Those against? 4. Yep. I declare the motion carried. 7 votes to 4. We now move on to item number 6, which is donate $2,000 to the young leaders of the Central West Summit through Canobolas Rural Technology School to contribute to the costs of holding the young leaders of the Central West Summit event.
Move the recommendation,
Second
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
Moved by Councillor
But I'd
Whitten.
like to declare an interest. I went to Canobolas High School, but I left in 1977. Is that, do I need to leave the rooms?
Say that again, because you mumbled a bit. Is that part of your education?
1977. I
Careful.
left, yeah.
Been moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Hamling. Any discussion? Councillor McDonald, and then Councillor Hamling.
A question through you, Mr. Chair, probably to the director. I'm just wondering whether, do we know, I get it, we're against the policy, and thank you to Councillor Whitten for his lightly condescending lecture on that one. Now, has the applicant made any...
The point of order, Mr. Chairman, it's a debate, isn't it? I'm allowed to make comment. I don't know.
No point of order. Councillor, continue. Councillor McDonald.
As I was saying, has the applicant made any approaches to, because I noticed like the 2,500 essentially covers the ex-service club room hire and morning tea, and I'm wondering, given the event and what it's about, I'm just wondering whether the applicant had actually made any representation to the ex-service club, because I know they do a lot for the community, whether they would knock off some of that fee for such a good cause. Do we know if they've done that?
That wasn't included as part of the application, so at this stage I don't know.
Yeah, whether or not it gets approved, it'd be interesting to know. Thank you.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
I'm happy to support this one. I think it's the reason it doesn't comply is really a technicality, just the way the timing has fallen for this round and the financial year. So I think this is great that we can have young leaders of our Central West who are potentially our future councillors and leaders of our community, and happy to support that.
Any further comment?
Chair. Yeah, I'll support this. I attended the one last year or the year before, and it was a great discussion hearing what our young people, how they'd like to shape the city, and a few of the ideas I know were brought to council through the youth council. So I think this is a good way to give the voice to the youth of our city, and try and give us some direction on, they're the future. So just seeing where we can go with future policies, maybe.
Any further comment? No further comment. I'm going to put that recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. The matter is unanimous. And that brings to close the Finance Committee, and I call on Councillor McDonald.
Could I just have a matter arising, please?
Sorry, matter arising.
Yeah, thank you. I've spoken to the Acting Director about this last time. There's nothing in the forms that they fill out to say where they've already tried to get the money, and this is obviously a thing that's come up. I'm just wondering if we can change the form to require people to let us know what they've already tried. For things like that, the defibrillator, there are many businesses in town who would help to contribute towards that sort of thing, and if people don't ask them, then they won't do it, and then it falls back to council to pick up the slack. So I just think if that's actually on there, then it might make some people realise that they can try somewhere else to get money to assist with some of
We'll have a
these
comment
things.
from the Director, and if you're happy to move a resolution, we'll do it that way.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy that's an easy.
Do you want to move a resolution?
Thank you.
Yep, okay, we have a resolution. We have a second to Councillor McDonald. She was the one that put her hand up first previously. Any discussion? No discussion. I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour, raise your hand. The matter is unanimous. And I call the Finance Committee closed at 7:49. I call on Councillor McDonald to the Policy Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. I'll open the Services Policy Committee meeting on the 7th of May, the time being 7. Any declarations of interest? Nope. None. Righty, item 2.1, minutes of the Lucknow Community Committee meeting of the 4th of April. Page 5 has the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Miletto. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion?
I've just got a question. What was the what's the follow up from the 50-kilometre-hour from the residents out at Lucknow?
I'm happy to answer that as someone who's, since Councillor Evans, who chairs the committee, is not here. The general sense from the committee has been overwhelming satisfaction with what we've achieved there. I don't know whether there's whether Mr. CEO or one of the directors wants to comment about anything else, but I do know that everyone on that committee was, both with the footpath and with the speed limit change, they're very satisfied.
Through you, Chair, we have not been overwhelmed by submissions. Either way, the world has not ended. And I'm talking about the wider public.
Any further discussion? In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise an arm. Unanimous. Thank you. That concludes the Services Policy Committee with the time being 7:51.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor McDonald. I'll resume the council meeting at 7:52. And I'll move on to notices of motion. Notices of motion 4.1. Councillor McDonald, would you like to move that?
Thank you, Mr.
Have
Mayor.
a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Any speakers?
Yeah, I'd love to speak to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I brought this up because I actually initially, when I first started this term as a councillor, I initially thought tax was taken out. There's a whole lot of information that I feel should have been provided but wasn't. But anyway, and I then thought it was actually something that councils in general didn't do. However, recently meeting with some amazing women that are on Newcastle Council, Sydney Council and Dubbo Council, they all have tax taken out. Now, the reason this is important is because I'm not the only one who's ended up with a tax bill because we don't have tax taken out. So I just think it's something simple. Other councils do it. This is just investigating what's involved in deducting tax. It's about making it more equitable, really, for everyone so that it's not, we don't get paid much as it is, but it'd be good that if at the end of financial year we weren't lumped with a tax bill from the little bit of pay that we do get.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'll be speaking against it, but I'll probably as a councillor, we're elected members. It's a fee, not a wage, and to my understanding, any councillor can approach the CEO and the staff to have tax deductions taken out on their behalf. All of us have different tax implications depending on what we do. So it's about, and I too did some research about, and there are only a handful of councils, the majority of councils where they do it. It's voluntary, because they have different tax requirements. What I probably would do, Mr. Mayor, is move an amendment to have a workshop so that we can understand, because you need to have tax advice on tax issues. Each individual person needs to go into this with an understanding of what their tax implications are. And so that would be, I'd be happy to move an amendment for a workshop to talk about it so everyone understands it before they actually agree to a motion that would lock them into a recommendation to have the tax removed that way.
Did you want to
If
say
I get
something?
a second, I haven't got a second here.
Questions are available to be answered by the Acting Director.
Yep.
So
ultimately, we all pay our taxes some way or shape or form, but all of us have tax implications in different ways, which we need to manage personally ourselves, right?
You've got an amendment. Have I got a seconder for a workshop over this? No.
I'm not going to accept that either because this is about
No, you
investigating.
don't have to. You don't have to accept it.
I know, but I'm just saying it's not an option.
So
that's up to you, councillor, to vote against it. You don't have a say unless you vote against it.
councillors.
In still carrying on, Mr. Mayor. So I'll speak against it then, because it may also have implications for council for payroll tax. That would be a bigger implication or impost on the ratepayers of this city, because council now would have to pay payroll tax. There is and I've researched it and been told that is correct, but the director can,
Mr. Mayor, we would not attract tax specifically because we don't have a threshold that we would cover. We have a payroll tax exemption for many areas of so there might be a small amount, but we wouldn't hit the threshold. Probably more to your previous comment about being able to ask at any point to withhold tax. We have two options about how we pay our councillor fees. And to a previous comment that it is a fee rather than a salary, we've chosen to pay it at the moment through our creditors system rather than through our payroll system. So if this change were to be accepted, we would need to change the way that we pay you from our creditors system into our payroll system. It is doable. At that point, let the percentage of tax that they would like to have withheld from their payments. Some may choose none and some may choose others. We would have to switch you, so it's an operational matter, switch you from creditors through to the payroll system.
So the option is there now to have...
But it would take some time to switch you. We would have to switch you all over
No,
to
but
the
from a
payroll
personal
system.
point of view,
At the moment, the option is
any
not
councillor
there.
can ask to have their tax withdrawn now.
Cannot withhold tax at the moment. You're paid through the creditor system. We have to switch you through to the payroll system. It would take us some time to set that up, but we could do it.
Individually.
I mean, technically, yes, we could, but operationally, it wouldn't be feasible to have some of you paid through creditors and some paid through the payroll system.
Thank you.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, happy to support this. All of the things Councillor Whitten has just raised can be addressed by passing the resolution. It says council investigates deducting tax from councillor remuneration rather than asserting things here and then saying, let's have a workshop. Why don't we pass this, let the staff prepare a report with the information, conduct the investigation that the motion proposes. Then we can have it brought back either to a meeting or in a briefing, and we can talk about it, understand the implications, and exactly how we can work through it. I do think it's worth looking at. I would personally, if it was available and if it was something where we had the choice of opting in or not, then I would look at opting in as someone who's worked as a salaried worker for all of my working career. I've been used to having tax taken out as you go. It makes it much easier to manage things and have to not try to estimate things, and you generally end up getting a refund back come the time that you lodge your tax return. So, yeah, but happy to support an investigation, which is what this motion is about, not anything else.
Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, I'm going to speak against it. I think that when we first joined council and we're made quite aware when you look at the pay advice, there is no tax taken out of it. I assume that all councillors don't fall within the same tax brackets. What rate, I'm not quite sure what rate suggested that councils be taxed on, and that would depend on each individual's ability to earn other income. In the year 22-23 financial year, we as councillors were challenged with overseeing a budget of approximately $130 million. I would suggest if we're unable to manage our own budget, what message does this send to our constituents or the community? Hence the reason I'm going to vote against it. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the writer of the notice of motion, I'd just like some clarification with regards to just a couple of questions, if I'm able to do that. I was a little bit confused about a couple of questions, and the first one was, what does it mean that what does it mean a local government possessing some unique impediments to encourage diversity of candidates, especially women who are on those lower incomes. I'm assuming that there would be men on them as well. Other question is it suggested that men are on low incomes aren't affected by the same challenges as women? And how is that a barrier to equality?
More than happy to answer that, but it's 2024.
Councillors.
Do I really need to educate you on gender inequality and the barriers?
If you like.
Well, I'm more than happy to do it offline because clearly it needs some work.
So Duffy.
Yeah, know a little bit about this, but I see this as a personal matter between most councillors and their budgetary matters. I have other businesses as well, and I'm sure other councillors in this room do as well, and can offset income against in certain aspects what it is. But I look at the master-servant relationship, and it doesn't exist here. What the case was, what does it do? What's it do to us if we all get tax taken out, whatever the case may be? I think it doesn't meet the master-servant situation or the employer-employee situation. I just know from my tax office days that it is, I think you're going to jeopardise the actual situation of what councillors are elected for and what their position in the society is. So, as I said, it doesn't meet the master-servant relationship, so I'm just going to be voting against it.
Thank you. Councillor Kinghorn.
Mr. Mayor, when I first saw this, I was also a little bit concerned that it was giving a message that can't manage our own money, then it's a bit of a problem expecting us to manage the community money. What Councillor McDonald has said, though, that she didn't actually realise this at the start and that the information wasn't given, that actually is a concern because, I just assume everybody knows this stuff because I have to pay my own tax and I get a tax bill every year and I'm just used to doing that. So I didn't even ask at the beginning. I just assumed that I'd have to pay extra tax on it, which I do. So if that's right and that's not made clear, then that's a valid point. If this doesn't go through, and it looks like it may not, but you can get a number from the tax office, and I can give you the BPay code, and they'll give you a reference number, and you can actually do it yourself every month. Anyway, if that's something that's easier for people, and maybe when people are new councillors, then that can be given to them as an option as well if this doesn't happen. I'm not inclined to support it, but as I said, that was my initial inclination was what? But if the information wasn't given at the beginning, then I realise that can be an issue for some people. So yeah, I won't be supporting it. Happy to help out with anybody who needs to know what the
Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, just very briefly, I'm happy to make a small administrative change if it helps the colleague. I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Greenhalgh.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Miletto. I will be voting against the motion. I think as grown adults, we should be able to manage our own finances. So, yeah, I'll be speaking against the motion.
Any other speakers? You want to close the debate, Councillor McDonald?
I'd love to, and thank you very much for the privileged comments about people not managing their own finances. That is not the case. That is not what this is about. We have an election coming up in September and we are wanting more diversity. Well, I assume most of us want more diversity on council. And it's very well for people who are in a privileged position to say it's all about you managing your own personal budgets and you shouldn't be here if you can't. That's not what this is about. It's about equity of access. It's about equality and reducing barriers. And if we already don't get paid much on here, and yes, it's a fee. But we get superannuation, don't we? And it is work. And we do have to pay tax on it. So if this is just a simple operational matter that can be done, and this is actually just, again, I reiterate, an investigation, it is not locking us in. I'm really actually amazed that in the atmosphere that we've had in the last couple of weeks, where people are more than happy to wave flags and wear T-shirts about getting rid of gender-based barriers,
If you think this doesn't link into that, then you're deluding yourself. Yes, it's just an investigation. You might say, what's tax got to do with domestic violence? But if you're not having an equal playing field for everybody, then you're not being fair. This is just an investigation.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? There's four, 6, 7.
For the motion.
Yep.
7 against.
So the motion's lost. I'll move on to point 2, Orange Wine Trail. I'm declaring an interest, remember, about my business, but I'm staying in the room and voting. Non-significant. Non-pecuniary. Councillor Peterson, you're moving this?
I am, thank you.
And I thank you, Councillor Floyd. Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, so just very briefly, a cycle wine trail will be a great boon for Orange tourism. I think it will attract tourism to the area, support local wineries and specialised food stores, and also add value to the existing cycle infrastructure that already exists in areas like the lake. The documents attached demonstrate all the effort that's already been put in by the Bicycle User Group, Carolyn James, other members of the Council Cycling Committee and volunteers. They've actually done all the hard work on this already. They're coming to us just to sign the process off to an advanced stage of seeking grants, and I, for one, thank them for the work they've done and very happy to put forward this motion.
Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Peterson for the motion, and I was supporting it. I was also impressed with the concept in the business cases provided. I also think that the notice of motion complements other events such as Forage whilst creating employment opportunities. It also potentially promotes the history within our region, the environment, and also Indigenous culture. Thank you.
Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'll be supporting this tonight, Mr. Mayor. It's an excellent and detailed business case was attached to this project, and it speaks volumes for its potential success while ticking all the boxes in relation to both the Central West and the Orange Regional Management Plan. It clearly targets the strong points in both Orange and Combonne Shires, with those being, of course, the food and wine precincts that we have and the hugely popular recreational bike riding sector. I believe as elected members in this council, we have an obligation to seek and attract the infrastructure that we need to this area that will benefit the community in both the short and long terms. I believe this project indeed ticks all those boxes as well. And I thank Councillor Peterson for his notice of motion tonight. And I really do look forward to seeing how this trail attracts tourism and local support moving forward.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks for bringing the motion, Councillor Peterson, and thank you to the Bicycle User Group for the work they've done on this via government grant and for the briefing they gave us a little while ago as well. I absolutely think this is a great project. It's complementary to other tourism attraction in Orange already. It's consistent with, as the report on the notice of motion makes clear, with the Orange Region Destination Management Plan, which has been developed in partnership with other councils in the region. And I think in a lot of ways it stands in contrast in the amount of solid work that's gone into this and making the case for it to some of the other projects that have had much more problems with them and much more outlandish claims along with them, frankly. So I'm happy to support it. The question I had in looking at this, we were given, it was a really good to read the addendum report on trail governance that came with this notice of motion. But the thing that stands out for me is the motion we've got really doesn't connect to that at all. Like that report, as I read it, is basically saying you've got a few options. One would be for a council to go it alone when you're covering across multiple council areas, but that's probably not what you want to do. You want to have collaboration in some model, whether it's one council sort of auspices it and the lead council, but you still need the partnership. So I guess, yeah, my question is on that and whether there is a plan on that. And I guess interested in if someone, and I don't know whether it's Councillor Peterson or the CEO, has a bit of an answer on that, and I'm considering then potentially moving an amendment to add something, because I think it's important we don't have anything in. It's basically, hey, Orange Council supports this, let's go ahead and do it. We actually need to work with Cabon in some form through this as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, a couple of things. During the development of this, you'll remember there's 3 trail sort of networks. There's a city trail, which is principally in Orange. Then you kick into Cabon from the lake, and you have those outer trails. Just pragmatically, a decision's been made. I think it's fair to say that we should start in Orange because that would be the hub, and then later on will come the spoke. So really, what we're talking about this first stage is that city hub. So Orange Council, the proposal is we'll run it through our bicycle committee. Away we go. Orange 360 sits on that bicycle committee, so there is a link to Cabon there. But I hear what you're saying. They won't actually be required in the first stage in any sort of technical or governance way. But I hear what you're saying. Perhaps when we form the subcommittee on the bicycle committee, we can invite Cabon in at that stage.
All right, thanks, CEO. And having heard that, I think I'll move an amendment, and I have no intention, to be clear, of disrupting the plan to go with stage 1. But I might suggest move to add a 4th point, which is to seek to partner with Cabon Council in deciding on a governance model for the overall trail project, which is what effectively, if I can get a seconder on that. Thanks. Yeah, so just to speak to the report on trail governance, basically saying you've got multiple models there, figure out which one you want to use. And I think even if we're working on the first one, probably giving rise to, and given the differential size of the councils in terms of staffing profiles and those sorts of things, probably we're going to be the ones driving a lot of it. But yeah, I think we should add that in to ensure that we are doing the work at the same time that we're working on stage 1. We're working out with Cabon, okay, how's it going to look once we try to go to the next stages. So,
we can live with that, Mr. Chair, that we can work with that. Easily done.
Do you want to add that to the motion, Councillor Peterson?
I'm happy for either way. I'll vote for the amendment, or it can just be point 4.
We'll just do point 4. Who was the seconder? Councillor Floyd, you happy to add that? Yep.
That's fine.
Happy days.
Yep.
So all councillors know that's point 4. Councillor Whitten.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just concurring with all the speakers about the fantastic idea. My reading of the motion is really that all of this has got to come back to council anyway, because we're talking about seed funding, in budgetising. So we really have a design and a plan in front of us, which is excellent. It's about now how we go about staging it and funding it. That's really where we're up to now, and I think that's the spirit of this motion, is how we go about achieving that. And certainly Cabon and our other neighbours, council neighbours, are going to get involved, I should imagine. They have to be. So it's a great, and thank you for this brochure, because I had a lot of questions, and this was sitting on my desk, and you spoke really well and it answered all my questions, so it's fantastic. The only question I do have, Mr. Mayor, is that I hope they have tandem bikes so that I can have a designated rider. But I'm sure that will be sorted out.
Councillor Powell. You're in, Councillor Powell.
Oh, I wasn't going to speak, but now I will speak.
Speaking on that one? You had your hand up.
I was drinking, so that's okay, sir. No, I will add something now, sir. Please.
I thought you had your hand up.
I reckon it's fantastic. As what the speakers already mentioned, that you and I were out there initially, and it's been a long time. And I know when we were sitting on Orange 360 board, always requesting an update in relation. So great news. It's here. Excited about it, and especially some of the information that you gave us in all the years. So thank you, Councillor Peterson, too, for bringing this forward. But congratulations to Orange Bicycle User Group. All done.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate pretty well much what everyone else has said. It was great getting out to Printhie Wines when the funding announcement was done on this. I think it's a great way to showcase our community and yeah, thank you for all the work that you've put into getting this where it is now, because we're pretty well much ground ready now. So, it is now about securing some funding, and you've given us a fantastic case study to be able to do that. So thank you.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad you can see this far. Number one, I'm going to support the recommendation, but I do know that this is not probably the first time that trials have come into play. I know they had previous wine groups had separate trials. There was a Bore and Ore trial. There was a number of different trials. And I still got the brochures at home, actually, from Cabondays. But I think it's a great thing. There are some issues that, and I know Councillor Whitten did touch on one. The other one is the public liability when you go across, when you go off the roads and all those type of things. I believe they'll be addressed in the next report when it comes here. And also the issue of that worries me a little bit is the actual state of the roads that they're riding on and the width of the roads and those type of things there, because a lot of our roads
Not on roads. It's all off-road.
aren't up to speed for multiple use of traffic. But as I said, I'm going to support it.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other speakers? Councillor Kinghorn.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually think this is a really good idea as well. But I've had a couple of people concerned about trails, about drinking and biking, because the same blood alcohol limits apply to riding a bike as to driving a car. And I know there should be systems in place to address that, but I just point that out. So if it's going to wineries, then it is certainly something that we need to be conscious of. I'm not encouraging, especially if you've got people walking as well. If you've got somebody who's doesn't have the skill to spit out their wine at their wine tasting, then they may pose a danger to pedestrians. So I just something to be conscious of.
Business opportunity. Those Hong Kong.
I'll just speak for the motion. I think it's fantastic. We talk about having shovel-ready projects. Look at the work that's gone into this already. It's been fantastic. I think it's great how it's not on roads, it's off road. The other thing I'm excited about is it is a walking and bike track, so and it's accessible as well. So that's very good. And I suppose just going on from Councillor Kinghorn, all the cellar doors do have RSA licenses that they have to appeal to. So I think there's a bit of responsibility on them as well. So and hopefully they're electric bikes. I'll put the motion. Councillor Peterson, did you want to say anything?
Plenty has been said already. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Unanimous.
Yeah.
I'll move on to general reports. 5.1 project update on Orange Conservatorium and Planetarium. Moved by Councillor Power, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any speakers? Councillor Peterson.
Only just to thank staff for the update and echo the comment I made about the sports stadium. Maybe future updates, so if there was possibility for financial information, either in open or closed, I'd find that very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. I'll move on to 5.2, draft integrated planning, reporting, operational plan, resource and strategy 24-25, including long-term financial plan, budget, fees, charges, workforce management strategy and asset management strategy. The budget.
Second it.
Moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any speakers? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. Just a few 4 questions just with the directors. Thanks very much for the overall report, and credit staff for the books in good order. Just 4 questions. I might do them individually. 4.1.1.1 on page 11. Just wanted some more information about the $105,000 project, which was just described as developing educational and engagement programs enhancing audiences' experience of art. And just because of the cost of the program, I wanted to know a bit more about it.
We got that one. On the way. Sorry, Councillor, page 10.
It was page 11 of the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's our education program we run in the gallery. It's run with delivered to schools, both through the school terms and in the school programs that we run extensively through the school holidays. We run a similar program in the Regional Museum. The cost refers to the cost of staff, but also materials, etc., to run those programs.
Thank you. On page 116, or 11% of our expenditure is on roads, parking, footpaths and CBD. I was just hoping for a breakdown of how much of that was spent on roads and footpaths, either now or on notice.
I'm going to take that on notice and get back to you, Councillor.
Fantastic. Page 192, I thought it'd be interesting to ask the $500 difference between graves in the denominational and non-denominational sections of the cemetery.
It's a question of size, Mr. Chair. But Mr. Morner will elaborate.
Essentially, that's through you, Mr. Chair. Correct. It's the bigger graves, so it's a reflection of the cost to council of the plot. So they're a bigger plot, so they cost more money.
Finally, on page 223, given problems other councils have had, do we have any security or checking processes to make sure that problematic waste like asbestos doesn't end up in the green waste and then contaminate other stuff?
Mr. Green?
All of our waste is videoed as it's dumped into the trucks, so we can do a source check. And then as each of the trucks come out to the Resource Recovery Centre, we dump on the floor of the Resource Recovery Centre, and it's a visual check. Thank you.
Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page 45, we talk about the pensioner discount on rates. So there's a statutory reduction of $250 off the general rates and $87.50 off each of the water and sewer charges. Also a voluntary rebate of either 10% for people who were pensioners prior to 2006 or 5% for people who were pensioners after that of rates and charges. Last year when we talked about this, we were trying to increase awareness in the community about this this discount that's available. That's something that Orange City Council chooses to do that we don't have to do. I'm just wondering if that made a difference, if we did try and promote it more, and did that mean that more people took advantage of it?
And indeed today I signed off a press release on this very subject.
Yep. And on the bottom of it, it had the pensioner rebate.
All of those things. But
we could do more.
Your question though is did it make a difference?
When we discussed it last year, we were going to try a bit harder to let people know. Did it help?
Yeah, I'll take that on notice. I was just noting we did also do that release today. I'll take that on notice and come back to you because we did, you're correct, last year.
And just a question on that while we're still there, Mr. Chairman. That pensioner rebate includes veterans with gold cards, doesn't it?
Take that on notice. I think they get it separately.
Yeah, because they are still pension, they just don't sit in the
I think they get it anyway
CES system.
Without needing that, but I will take that on notice as well.
So I suppose the other comment is that this does go out on public exhibition, so we are encouraging residents to have a look and write in, and if there's anything that they see that's an anomaly or anything else, to make sure you let us know in 28 days' time. Okay, thanks, councillors. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to item 5.3. I don't have 5.3.
Draft strategic policy, Redmond Place.
Right, so it's 5.3 because it's 5.4 on that. 5.3, which is draft strategic policy, Redmond Place Precinct.
Move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. Seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any speakers? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. I just wanted to know if we can obtain data about the number of homes and beds available in Orange at a particular point in time, perhaps through the rates we expect to collect. It would just be interesting to trendline our population versus bed and room numbers over time, and could well be another vital sign of Orange if that information can be obtained easily.
Through Mr. Chair, taken on notice. We do get a lot of information from Orange 360. That is correct. Take it on notice. Thank you.
Councillor.
Arising from it.
Yep. Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, happy to see this go out on exhibition, and thank the staff for the work on it. I mean, obviously this is related to issues that I've been banging on about. And beforehand, yeah, so it'll be good to get people having a look at this and looking at what we're doing in terms of housing policy. I did, in a fairly recent meeting, note the number of policies that we had resolved we were going to develop in terms of policies that cover overarching frameworks for short-term rental accommodation, affordable housing, infill development, all of those, homelessness policy as well. So I think we've got a lot of work to do on this. I think this is a first step as I understand it, but yeah, looking forward to making this document the best we can and then keeping on the work from there.
Thanks, Councillor Mallard. Any speakers? There being no speakers, he's got a matter arising. I'll put the motion all in favour. Against? Councillor Duffy.
Being at Redmond Place, I do believe that there was around about 268 trees planted.
Councillor Whitten brought this up not long ago.
The memorial. Yeah.
Or come back to us.
About what? Report on.
I think he asked, are we going to touch those memorial trees?
Or come back to us.
Yeah.
Through Mr. Chair, can I not write a report? Can I just tell you that those trees will not be touched as part of this project? They've been zoned so that they will not be touched.
Or some already taken out because of the Southern Feeder Road. So that's what I just wanted to check as well. It's all part of the.
Through Mr. Chair, we'll write a report.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No. Okay. Item 5.4, which is amendment to plan of management, Spring Creek Dam to permit recreational fishing to go on exhibition.
Happy to move.
Councillor Floyd, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any speakers? Councillor Floyd.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, firstly, thanks to all the speakers tonight. You all spoke very passionately. It was very good. Thank you for that. Yeah, this amendment tonight and the consequent 28-day public exhibition has my 100% support. It's another great initiative that has financial, tourism, environmental, physical and mental health benefits, and I look forward to seeing this area opened up recreational lure and artificial fly fishing. Again, this is another positive thing we can do as a council that can provide benefit to the community. I look forward to the positive consultation through this in relation to all dam users, and hopefully we can find common ground so that everyone can coexist in peace and safety out there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other speaker? Councillor Peterson.
Thank you. I'm in favour of the public exhibition, and I feel the proposal meets the intent of my motion from 2022 for increased fishing availability to better utilise public assets. Initial resolution was motivated by a desire to take advantage of a particular federal government grant from last federal election. I'm sure council staff would investigate if there's other similar grants out there now in the future to minimise the cost to us.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to support this going out on exhibition, and I want to thank the speakers who've come and spoken in the public forum this evening, and would obviously encourage you to make written submissions as well. I did appreciate a number of the issues raised by speakers from Kinross about matters that might need to be addressed, and yeah, I think we need to look at factoring some of those in. And I do appreciate the report, like attempting to find a way that you could enable some use while protecting the sensitive environmental areas. So happy to have this go out. I'm sure there will be a number of stakeholders looking at this closely and making submissions. I did want to ask one question in particular relating to page 401, the diagram there, figure 1, makes reference to stage 1 fishing zone. And then I did note on page 471 in the email coming from the government agency that they made reference to. We support your ideas for a staged approach to opening up access, and we'll be happy to work with you and your team, etc. So my question is, what more is being considered beyond this stage one approach to use of Spring Creek Dam? And what has been explored? Has anything been ruled out at this point? What's beyond stage one?
Through you, Mr. Chair, nothing sinister really. I think we just had discussions with fisheries. Things like, allowing kayaks would be the best example. And, when you look at the Kinross rowing program, I think having kayaks and having rowers, you're asking for trouble. The staged approach was really to try to get, then you take lure and fly as the first stage. Maybe bait is the second stage. But it's not meant to be, let's fish that strip and then open the entire western side up in future. It's not that sort of thing. It's a stage one, see how we go. Maybe expand the activity rather than the zone.
Okay, thanks. And the other question I had related to the issues around enforcement. The report basically notes there's already illegal fishing going on out there. But I think it seems a bit of a stretch maybe to argue that at the moment it's completely ruled out, so people are just breaking the rules. If we suddenly make one little bit permissible, people are going to obey those rules and only use that area, as I think some of the comments from the Kinross speakers went to there. They could see that other areas would be appealing and might be more likely to get used, as well as bait fishing rather than just lure and fly fishing. So I guess my question is, there's a bit of reference there to potential increase in enforcement and increase in monitoring there. Do we have any clear indication? Is that actually going to, how much is that really going to happen, and how much will it manage to regulate things? I know we've already got, for example, issues with Ploughman's Wetland and the way fishing is having impacts there. So just concerned about that.
I thought I'd make it, sorry, Chair, I thought I'd made it reasonably clear in the report that the proposal includes management. Fisheries will be, if this gets ahead, fisheries will include it on their fishing inspector program. So that's on the spot fines. It is very much, I wrote the intention that council rangers would include it in their program, and water staff. Really, we need to look at ourselves when you look at some of these illegal activities. What are we doing when there's many kilograms of timber, dumped there? What are we actually doing ourselves? And we've had broken fences and we've heard of motorbikes. You can see the list that the Kinross report looks at. I think we also have to look at ourselves, because we can't say this is our pristine, beautiful water quality to be protected if we're not doing it. So there is a commitment from me to actually monitor this.
And that's going to take resourcing, but...
Well, I've written in there, I think, under that table that financial implications are together with some operational funding to police the initiative. So, yeah.
Councillor Mileto.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the speakers for coming along tonight. I note that obviously Kinross will put a submission in. I think what wasn't mentioned tonight is that being a school, they have approximately, I think it's 9 weeks holidays per year, and most of those are during the warmer periods, which I assume would be used by other users for fishing purposes, stuff like that. What I would have liked to have known, and I probably should have asked a question, I had to clarify, but it'll come back in the submission, is the hours that Kinross actually train for their rowing. Are these done outside of school hours? Are they done on weekends? And that'll be something which I'll consider when it comes back to council. I was pleased to hear that the issue of the exclusion zone had already been addressed in the report. So thank you for clarification on that. Is there any information when the last black swan was saw out there, Mr. CEO?
Take that on notice.
I had 2 on the dam last year at home.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to support the 28-day advertising of this project. I do like the look of stage one. However, if it doesn't work, and if we do get approval for it in a month's time, we can always vary that and move stage one to somewhere else, which might be more workable for Kinross and the actual fishers. I'm not disappointed that the kids sneak across the paddock and have us throw a line in. I'd be very disappointed in them if they didn't. But as I said, I think it's a step forward, and I'd probably like to see it more go to the other dam than this one.
Councillors, I'll be supporting. I think it's fantastic to see, especially kids fishing. I do know up at the wetlands, there's always kids up there who do the right thing. Up at the wetlands near the Wentworth wetlands, there's always kids riding their push bike down Coronation Drive with a fishing line, standing on that platoon, chucking a line in. They're not on phones, they're not on iPads. They're out enjoying the beautiful country air we have out here, and that wetlands we have. So I'll support this 100% to go out on exhibition. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. I'll move on to closed meeting. The Chief Executive Officer will now advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
We have no such submissions.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2021, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred in Section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of the Council meeting closed to the press and public. Councillors.
Councillor, you mean?
Councillor Duffy. Councillor Duffy. Could we just have a seat?
I know he's lost. Ain't damn.
I know he's lost their way. Where was I up to? 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of Council meeting closed to the press and public. 6.1 Tender F3803, design and construction of the Orange Aquatic Centre 50-metre pool heating is classified confidential under the provision of Section 10A2C. Information that would be, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the Council is conducting or proposes to do business. Can I have someone move and second that we move into closed council? Thank you, Councillor Greenhouse, seconded by Councillor Floyd. All those in favour? We'll just wait for Councillor Duffy to come back into the room, please. Councillor Greenham, can you get Councillor Duffy?
Just mark he was absent.
We can do our socialising after the meeting. Councillor Duffy, can I have I moved and seconded. Please, so we'll just wait.